there are not enough people talking about this shoe. What's up, sneaker people? It's your boy FB Kicks and Gear, and we are back with another legit check guide video. And today we're featuring the Jordan 4 RM Driveway Gray.
That boy could barely walk before he got on a bike riding right here in this driveway.
Now, for y'all that don't know, the Jordan 4 RM is a remixed version of the Jordan 4. It's not reimagined. It's not a fusion, as some people like to call it. It is just a revisited, remixed version of the Jordan 4, and it's supposed to be designed specifically, or at the very least, designed with BMX biking and biking in general in mind. And to do that, they partnered up with Nigel Sylvester, who is a pro BMXer and, in my opinion, one of my favorite celebrities in this space. He's a low-key guy. He's a community guy. He's got a great sense of fashion. And when I think about sneakers and collaborations, Nigel's the kind of person that first comes to mind. So when I saw the personal touches that were going to be on the Nigel pairs, that's the introduction to the shoe. This is my authentic pair here on the left, and this is a replica pair on the right. And you can find as many pictures as you'll need of the replica pair for reference on the Instagram account that's going to pop up on the screen. Y'all know I'm always preaching, focus on the details, learn the differences, do not get scammed. And I'm going to say that whether you're dealing with a $200 shoe like this, or you're dealing with a $2,000 shoe like a Jordan 1 Travis Scott that I featured on this channel. So with that said, we're going to get into this legit check guide, and we're going to break down some of the differences so that you know what to look for when you're out on the market trying to shop for a pair of Jordan 4 RMs. And we're going to start with the boxes. So here we have the boxes side by side, and this is more or less a Jordan 4 retro box with a little bit of changes to kind of coincide with this collab release. The differences that we have with this is obviously, instead of Nike Air on the top of the box lid, we have Bike Air, and instead of our normal cement print, we actually have concrete driveway print all along the bottom of the box. And this has a texture to it. It feels gritty. It feels dry, like a driveway is supposed to. So we're going to compare the authentic box to the rep box, and we'll see where the differences lie. And I think that we can see immediately in the camera that there's definitely some color and tonal differences to the driveway color motif on the authentic box compared to the rep. And you can see that there's definitely a color difference between the gravel and the rocks and the cement of the authentic compared to the rep. The rep just is a lot less vibrant and a lot more washed out. The authentic box just seems to be a little bit more detailed as well when it comes to that. Outside of that, the only real difference in this is that when you go to the sides of the box, you can actually feel the different grooves where the different rocks are along the cement. But when I run my hand along, I can feel every individual rock that is here. While when I do that on the replica pair, they definitely have this like coated texture to the box, but it's all uniform and there's no differentiation between the little rocks and everything like that. So if you run your hand across a box of Jordan 4 RMs and you can't feel the individual pebbles and the individual rocks or the cracks or whatever, you know you're dealing with a replica box. Shout out to Nike for doing that. They're putting a whole bunch of effort onto a box. Outside of that, these shoes come with a sheet of stickers. This is the sticker sheet that came with the authentic pair, and this is the sheet that came with the rep. And as you can see, while the stickers are shaped very similarly, this is the sticker sheet that's supposed to come with the green pair, and you can see all of the Bike Air and Bike by Jordan are all green as opposed to the gray. And not only that, the colors are a lot less muted on the replica sticker sheet than they are on the authentic. And while we're focusing on things that come inside the box, here you have the authentic laces and here you have the replica laces. Immediately you can see that there's a difference in color of the boxes, the cardboard boxes that the laces come in. And you can also see that the way that these laces are wrapped is different on the authentic than it is on the rep. The authentic sneakers that come with extra laces are starting to come wrapped like this. We saw that in my Jordan 3 Ama Maniere videos, and the reps are just standard rolled up laces. If you were to ask me why Nike's doing this right now in terms of rolling up the laces differently than compared to before, I wouldn't be able to tell you, but the fact that they're doing that is a pretty reliable legit check indicator for now, at the moment at the very least, because replicas have not caught up with that. But with that said, those are the accessories. Let's get into the shoes themselves. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do our side-by-side comparison, and we'll be able to get a better sense of the differences and similarities. So here we have the shoes side by side, and just putting them together, I would have thought that they would have been way more different, but the areas that they are different in stand out pretty well to me. So let's start going over it, looking at them side by side. I'd say first and foremost, the gray colors on the midsole are definitely a little bit different. It's darker on the authentic pair. It's a lighter, cooler gray on the replica. And that color difference kind of follows its way onto the outsole too. The black of the outsole is very much more like a charcoal black, while the rep is a jet black, a dark black. Might be just differences in finishes, but yeah, that's what it looks like at the very least. And when you go to the air bubble and the white part of the midsole, the whites are actually a little bit different of a color too. It's a very cool white on the replica and a warmer white on the authentic. But now that we're in this area, we can do a really good comparison on the material that predominantly makes up this shoe, which is this nubuck. And one of the things that I will say is that I was actually very, very impressed by the materials on the shoe, even though it's only at the 150, 160 price point. But you can look at the nubuck all throughout the shoe, and it is beautiful. It's got tumbling, it's very soft, lots of texture, and you can actually see the grains and the motion all the way around the shoe. Now, it is a $150 shoe, so yes, I do have glue marks all around, a pretty egregious one here. That's Nike quality control for you, but outside of the quality control, the quality itself is fantastic. Look at this. This is almost like an elephant print nubuck. Now, when you compare it to the replica, the nubuck is it's a nice nubuck, it's a soft nubuck, but it's a different nubuck. You can see that there is just not nearly the same amount of texturing and nap to the nubuck of the rep when compared to the authentic pair. You can see, especially here, and like the difference in material also kind of translates into a difference in color. The authentic pair actually looks like what you would think elephant skin would look like, if that makes sense. Almost makes me think that the authentic pair is treated with something. It gives off a little bit of a sheen to it, like the original Jordan 4 Ama Manieres, if you guys remember those. But this is more of a standard nubuck. It's thicker on the rep, it's darker, or I should say it's a warmer of a gray, and it just does not have the same texture to it as the authentic does. And you can see that by the transition. Not bad on the rep here, but on the authentic pair, it's like night and day. From there, if we look at the back of the shoe, it's more or less the same, but there's definitely a slight difference in color between the gridded kind of rubber heel cup that the authentic pair has compared to the rep. The letters look very close, but everything just seems to be a lot more defined on the authentic pair, including this grid pattern, than on the rep. And that kind of goes throughout the whole shoe. and all of this mudguard part. Just seems to be, wherever there's a detail, the authentic pair just seems just to be a little bit more defined and polished. But when we go to the sock liner, we definitely do see a difference. If you can see on the rep, the sock liner has this grid pattern that is depicted all throughout it. And on the inside, now pulling out the authentic pair, it's there on the authentic pair, but it's a hell of a lot more subtle and a lot less visible. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's not nearly as visible on the authentic pair as it is on the rep. You can see night and day here. So that's definitely something. The next thing that I can see is when we are looking at the toe material, you can see that there's a difference in color. You've got a lighter warm gray on the authentic pair here for this nylon tongue, but you have a cool gray on the rep. You can also see, ironically, when we look at the tongues, the grid pattern is a little bit more similar. But there's a clear difference in color, I would think, between the top of the tongue on the authentic and the top of the tongue on the rep. It's definitely darker on the rep for sure. The details, though, are there. For the details there are very close, and they're there. The embroidery, Bike Air by Jordan, is not entirely good looking, in my opinion, on the authentic pair, so I'm not going to really hound the rep for that. But outside of that, there really isn't too much going on. I would say that there's just slight proportion differences between like the cuts and the openings on the authentic versus the rep. Like for instance, this area just seems to be a little bit bigger and more open on the authentic than it does on the rep. In fact, a lot of early reps of this shoe do not have 4 lace holes in this area. They have 3, but a nice little trick for you is that men's sizes are all supposed to have 4 lace holes here. Kid sizes will have 3. The difference is that these came in full family sizing. The green pair only came in men's sizes. So maybe I'll post a picture of the 3-holed version on the screen just so that I can show you what I'm talking about. But outside of that, the shoes are very similar. You can see that they've both got a red insole. The rep is definitely a brighter, more vibrant red than the authentic pair. I'm not going to take them out because they aren't really special insoles. They're regular insoles that when they're sticky and you pull them out, they rip. So I'm not going to do that, but take my word for it. It's a lot more of a more vibrant red on the rep than on the authentic. When we move down, you can see I think a pretty clear difference between the red colors of the authentic here on the left and the rep on the right. Let's shut off all the lights and do a black light test, and then we'll wrap up the video. So luckily there are plenty of subtle color differences between the authentic pair and the rep pair that we don't have to 100% rely on a black light test, but it's still good to do. I don't know if there's anything that's going to light up, but let's find out. As we thought, we're getting some glue stains along the shoe. Nothing being super reactive outside of the insole. It's a predominantly monochromatic shoe. Nothing too crazy. The Bike Air is just reacting slightly, but nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy on the shoe here. We're getting some reaction out of the inside of the insole for sure. Shining a light at the white laces on the authentic pair, definitely very reactive and glowing. So, looking at the rep, we should see nothing but the air bubble glow on the shoe. We're seeing that. Interestingly enough, it looks like, I wouldn't call this reactive, but the way that this cage hits the light almost makes it green. Let's put them side by side to see what happens. Yeah, they just subtly react differently in my opinion. Let's see. Would we call that insole reactive? Let's compare that to the authentic. Yeah, I'd say they're reactive the same way. Going around the rest of the shoe, nothing really. And I gotta say, you're definitely not getting the same bright reaction out of the air bubble on the Rep as you would on the authentic. And when we pull out the Rep laces, they glow as well. So I would say blacklight test inconclusive in my opinion, not unless you have the authentic pair right next to it. So that wraps up our legit check guide. This is a lot longer than I thought it would be, but I'm actually pretty infatuated with the shoes and I haven't had much time to toss it around and get a look at the details, but definitely a great shoe. It's going to be, if Nigel can keep up with his versions of the shoe specifically, not the lifestyle versions of the shoe. No hate to people that like that version. There are some colorways that I like as well, but there's just something different about this that makes it a sneakerhead shoe, if that makes sense. So with that said, guys, I hope you learned a lot. I hope you were informed and you're better able to legit check these shoes. And remember, you can find all of the pictures of the Rep that you need for your research purposes on the account that you're going to find on the screen. Remember, do your research, guys. It's important. I'll make sure I include a picture of the size tag of the shoe on the screen, so that might help with batch identification. And with that said, guys, appreciate y'all. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.